mid-chair there. If you make sure that your feet are actually able to be on the ground, or maybe put some blocks underneath your feet if the legs dangle a little bit. Rest your hands comfortably into your lap. And then when you're feeling ready, you can start to close your eyes. Now, if closing your eyes doesn't feel okay for you today, that's fine. You can keep your eyes open, but let the eyes themselves soften just a little bit. So we start to let the mind, the brain, know that we're going to use our eyes a little less right now. We're going to save the energy that we typically use through looking outwards to turn up our ability to sense our internal state, to feel around the body, to feel the breath, and to observe our minds. It's a very powerful act to actually close the eyes, as we're making the choice to no longer concern ourselves for this period of time with what it looks like, what anything looks like, how our bodies look, how the room around us looks, even how the practice that I'm guiding looks. And we choose instead to go into a place about how it feels. What different sensations are we having? What different emotional fluctuations are coming in and out? And what different thoughts are arising? So take a few moments here in silence to start to tune in. To gently release the world around you just for this practice, knowing it will be there for you to engage with again. You're choosing now to engage with your inner world. And as you become more sensitive, more tuned in to that internal state, you'll start to notice your breath and how your breath arrives and leaves the body. So at first here, try to simply just watch your natural breath. And that actually can be quite challenging, because often when we start to notice our breathing, we actually start to affect our breath. And just see if you can let the natural breath happen all on its own, and simply feel and notice how breath is moving. And then start to soften parts of the body that feel maybe like they might be restricting the breath a little bit. So sometimes we hold some tension or gripping into the chest, and often we'll hold some tension into the belly. And these areas can really restrict our capacity for breathing. So see if you can bring a little bit of softness, a little bit of release into the muscles of those spaces. And start to now direct your breath in through your nose all the way down to your belly. So your belly starts to expand. And then actively squeeze the belly in. So this, we're purposefully using the muscles of the belly to help lift up into the lungs and press the air out the nose. Then we soften the belly right away and let the breath come in and down, expanding the belly. Then we exhale, contract the belly in, bringing the breath up and out. So a little bit more active breathing now. This is our yogic breath, our belly breath. This is our breath of practice. So throughout practice, when you might notice that you've lost this breath in particular, it's an anchor. You can bring it back in to bring your mind and attention back into your practice as well. A couple more very present, conscious belly breaths. And then bring your hands onto your thighs so your palms are facing down. And we'll simply start to slide the rib cage from side to side. So we're not going very fast here. We're just gliding the rib cage from side to side. And kind of depending on what's going on in your spine today, in your muscles of the back, this might actually feel more like you're rocking from side to side, especially if there's a lot of stiffness in the back. So see if you can keep your weight relatively balanced between your hips and move more from your rib cage. So we get a little bit of motion going in the mid back. We start to softly loosen those muscles of the back. So we're not trying to jam anything from side to side, just a little bit of motion here. And then you can let your head rock in the opposite direction. So as your rib cage goes to the left, your head will rock to the right. And as your rib cage goes to the right, your head will rock to the left. Good. Still feeling that belly breath. Let's bring everything back into center, sitting up nice and tall. But now, if it's comfortable for you, you can bring your hands up onto the sides of your rib cage. Now, sometimes our shoulders or even hands won't allow us to do that, and that's okay. You can let your hands come down a little bit lower, simply return them to the thighs. The hands come on the rib cage just to have a bit more awareness of the rib cage itself, because we're going to start to now move the rib cage. And often when there's tightness in the back, we don't move just the rib cage. We'll move hips and all sorts of other parts of the body. But let's see if we can isolate the motion into the rib cage. So now you're going to take your rib cage and glide it forward, and then take your rib cage and tuck it back, sliding the rib cage forward and back. So I like to use the image here of my rib cage being on some train tracks, some tracks. So you imagine the sides of your ribs riding along the track back and forth. So what we're not doing is leaning back and leaning forward. That's a motion of the hips. We want to keep the hips steady and move just the rib cage. So don't worry, this isn't a very big motion at all. I'm kind of exaggerating it here just so that you can see it. But it's a little motion of the rib cage going forward and back. And it can take some time to find it. So again, especially if there's some tightness that is held in your back a lot, this can take a little bit of time to find. So just give yourself some more time if you need. But if you're starting to find that motion, that back and forth motion, we're going to add all those motions together. So we're going to take the rib cage forward, then glide it over towards the right, then tuck that rib cage back through center and over to the left. Then again, rib cage comes forward and to the right, and then back and then to the left. So we're moving the rib cage around in a circle. So again, you might feel a little bit of motion in the hips, a little bit of circle motion, but it's not really a big hip motion. Okay, it's a small rib cage motion here. And you might notice it's a fair bit of work, a fair bit of concentration to get that movement. Small movements can be more challenging sometimes than larger movements. Let's try going the other way. Taking the rib cage towards the left and drawing it back and towards the right, and then forward and towards the left. So we're circling in the opposite direction. Good. A few more times like this, just freeing up some motion in the mid back. So this is an area for many of us that is quite tight, doesn't hold a lot of movement for us because of that tightness. We want to start to free that up. The more motion the spine can do, the more motion the body can do. Good. Let's bring the rib cage back into center. You can release your hands again onto your thighs. Give the shoulders a few gentle rolls. Just bring some motion in there. As you move your shoulders around, again, you can move them in lots of different directions, just checking out the mobility of your shoulders today. You can also start to move your jaw. So moving both sets of joints at the same time, shoulder joints and jaw joints, moving the jaw around, moving the shoulders around. Good. And see if you can also move your nose around at the same time. Shoulders, jaw, nose all together. Then maybe add in the eyebrows if they're not moving already. Good. And then you kind of scrunch the face up, lift the shoulders up, and take a big breath in. And then let everything go as you exhale out the mouth. Again, inhale, shoulders up, scrunch the face up really tight, big breath in. Exhale, let it all go. Good. Let's keep going. Inhale, scrunch it all up, bring it all in. Exhale, let it go. 2 more times. Inhale, bring it on up. Pull it on in, and then exhale, let it go. Last one, make it a good one. Inhale, lift the shoulders up, scrunch the face up, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Good. Might wiggle the face a little bit just to feel some of that release that's in the face now. Good. Slide the hands forward now towards the kneecaps. You can give your knees a few gentle rubs here to warm up the joints of the knees. And then cupping the kneecaps with your hands, straighten the arms and sit up as tall as you can. So we made some really small motions in the rib cage. Let's try doing some larger motions for the spine. Now, of course, depending on what's going on in your spine, for you, your motions might stay a little smaller. So especially if there's some osteoporosis or injury in the spine, you might work more through sitting upright than you are through motion of the spine. Okay. If the spine's feeling okay today, you're going to bring your belly forward, lift your chest up, lift your chin up, look up. Then you're going to exhale and round in, moving through our cat-cow here. Inhale, coming forward with the belly, lift the chest, lift the chin, and then exhale, curling it all in. So a few more times like this. Now we're letting the hips move more. We're letting the shoulders and neck move more. Good. And we're going to take those same circle motions that we took with the rib cage, but now we're going to let them come further down more into the belly, circling around the hips here. Good. Still feeling that belly breath though. And let's try the other way. Circle the opposite direction. Good. One more full circle here, then coming back up to sit nice and tall. Walk your feet wide apart now, as wide as you comfortably can, and we'll come forward onto the elbows. So you want to be mindful of the type of chair you're sitting in. We all have different chair styles, so you want to make sure your hips can stay on the chair. So if you need to slide yourself back a little bit, go ahead and do that. Elbows resting on the thighs, toes turned out slightly. If you were to look at your toes, they're going to be pointing the same direction as your kneecaps. So watch the knees, they like to fall in. See if you can keep your knees pointing straight over top of the toes. Good. Then lift your chest up. Lift your gaze up. Look forward and start to bring your chest forward, opening through the chest. Good. We call this happy baby or a happy baby variation. So some of you might stay here with your elbows resting on your thighs, especially if you have any concern for blood pressure or any injuries in the low back. If the low back and hips are feeling okay, your hands might start to come down the legs towards the ankles, maybe coming towards the feet or even onto the inside of the feet on the floor, maybe. Anywhere along the way is perfectly fine. Stay where it's available to you and where you can still feel that yogic breath. Good. Keeping your right hand either on the floor, the foot, or the elbow resting on the thigh. You're going to release your left arm up. Maybe your left hand comes up onto your left knee. Maybe you sweep the left arm all the way up overhead. As you exhale, take that left arm down, reach it across into the right. Then inhale, take it all the way up. Good. Exhale, let it come down and across. Inhale, open it and up. Nice. Exhale, down and across. Last one here. As we inhale, open it up, take it down and across, then release the left hand back to where it began. So maybe elbow was on the thigh, maybe hand was on the ankle or the floor. We'll come to the other side. Right hand comes up onto the right knee, turning the chest to the right, maybe taking the right arm up. So be mindful of your spine here, going only into the depth of your twist that feels okay for you. As you exhale, the right hand will come down and across, then inhale it, maybe open it up. Exhale, down and across. Inhale as you sweep up. Good. Two more. Let's come down and across. And then open it up. Last one here. As we come down and across, then you're going to release your right hand back to where it began. So again, maybe it was on the ankle, maybe it was on the floor, maybe elbows resting on the thighs. Good. Gaze is forward. Feel the hips on the chair. So notice if your hips are starting to lift from the chair. Keep them on the chair. Let's take one more breath here. Then bringing your hands up onto your knees, slowly lift your chest all the way up. Take your time, especially if you've had your head below your heart. Keep your feet wide, hands on the thighs, sitting nice and tall. Good. We're going to rest the left elbow now onto the left thigh. Take the right arm out to the right now, but depending on your shoulder, the right hand might feel better resting on the right shoulder, or you might extend that right arm up. And then you're going to reach the right arm overhead towards the left. Keep rolling the right shoulder back and look up towards your right fingertips. Breathing here. Now, if this is painful at all or inappropriate for your neck, keep your gaze forward, and you might even take your right hand to support the back of your head. Take some pressure off the neck. One more breath like this. Then we're going to inhale, come all the way back up, releasing that right arm down. And we'll come into the other side. So the right elbow rests onto the right thigh. The left arm again can come all the way up, maybe fingertips on the shoulder, maybe hand behind the head. So find the appropriate position for your arm. Then start to arc over towards your right. So left arm's coming over towards the right. Breathing here. Should feel a bit of a sensation down that left side of the body. Good. Inhale now, come rising all the way back up. Release that left arm down. Really good. We'll come forward again onto the elbows, giving a couple options here. So if you have any concerns with the knees or low back, you're gonna stay like this, elbows on the thighs, gazes forward. If the knees and low back are feeling okay, your hands can come up onto your thighs, or maybe take the arms all the way out. With the arms extended, that does add some work for the spine. So give a little support through the belly, but keep the breath moving, so not holding the breath. Pressing into the feet, then you might start to lift your hips just an inch or so off the chair, hovering the hips from the chair. That's an option. So again, be mindful of your knees, mindful of your low back, breathing wherever you are. If your arms are extended, you might sweep the arms back, bring some dynamic motion into the shoulders. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Good. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. This inhale, press into those feet and then rise up. Straighten those legs. Reach up, look up. Exhale, let the arms go. Good. Inhale, reach forward, reach up. Exhale, let the arms go. Good. Inhale, sweeping up, looking up. Exhale, let it go. One more time. Big sweeping motion all the way up. Big release. Let it go. Good. Shake the arms up. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. Keep the feet wide apart. And again, you're welcome to stay seated in your chair. That's absolutely okay. As we start to move the hips from side to side. So hands can come on the hips if that feels good. And just get a little bit of motion of the hips side to side. So if you're in the chair, it's more of an upper body motion, getting that into the hips. Good. And again, because I like circle motions, they're so good for the joints, we'll start to circle the hips. But let's circle the other way. Then some of you might work more in a figure 8 motion, weaving the hips through center and looping them from side to side, just checking out some available motion in your hips, only if that feels okay. You might stay with more of the circle motion or the side to side motion. Of course, if you're doing that kind of weaving motion, we've got to go the other way, go back the other direction. So what we do one way, we do the other way as well. Good. And bringing your hips back into center, turning your toes now forward, walking the feet in so they're more directly below your hips. Palms forward, shoulders back. Let's stand tall in Tadasana. So of course you're welcome to stay seated, but still feel that sense of lift and length through the spine. Sensing that deep belly breath, that yogic breath. Feel your feet on the floor, even put a little bit of effort, press into the feet, really wake up the legs. Yeah. Opening the eyes now. So depending on what your situation is at home, you might be able to bring your chair around, so now it's more in front of you. If the chair isn't that mobile, you might use a table instead, turning towards a table or towards the wall. Those are also very good options. You just want to make sure you have a good stable foundation to use. And then from your Tadasana, we're going to take the arms forward and up. So if you're in the chair, you don't have a chair in front of you, you're going to lift the arms up still, look up. Good, then exhale, start to fold forward. Hands might come onto the back of the chair or onto the sides of the seat of the chair. Or if you're seated in the chair, elbows will come on the thighs. Good, lift the chest up, look forward. Exhale, gently fold down. Be mindful of blood pressure here. Keep your head above your heart if there's concerns. Inhale, straighten the arms, look forward. Exhale, bend the elbows, fold down. Very good. One more time. Let's inhale, straighten the arms, look forward. Exhale, bend those elbows, fold down. Very nice. Straighten the arms now, lift your gaze, look forward. And let's take the legs wide apart. So taking them as wide as you can comfortably bring them, starting with the toes pointing straight forward still. So it's as though you're in a Tadasana and you just step the legs wide. So the feet do not turn out, the toes are still pointing forward. And now start to press into both feet equally. And you might notice that one leg's a bit stronger than the other. It's easier to press into one foot than the other. That's okay, it's very normal. But see if you can balance the workout between the legs. Good. Good. Breathing here. Good, you're gonna keep some of that effort in the feet, soften the knees a little bit, and now lift up your toes. So you're pressing into the feet, the knees are soft, but the toes are lifted off the floor. So we're going to wake up some deep inner thigh muscles. These are really important muscles for our stability, which helps with our mobility. So keep the toes lifted, and now try to squeeze your feet towards each other. So they won't actually move because you're pressing down so strongly, but as you try to drag your feet towards each other, you'll notice those inner thigh muscles really start to fire up. Those are the muscles we're looking for. So keep that engagement for a few more breaths, still breathing with all that effort. Good. Then you're going to gently release the toes down, but see if you can maintain the engagement of those inner thighs. Good. Then take your right hand onto the center of the chair, your left hand onto your left hip. As you start to lift your left shoulder up, you're going to look off towards the left. Be mindful of your hips. That's why we have a hand there, to not let your hip lift up. Keep your hips level. Roll the left shoulder up, looking to the left. Notice if you've released the effort of those inner thighs. See if you can keep that effort there. Some of you might stay here, depending on your shoulder. Some of you might extend that left arm out to the left, and then lift from your collarbone. Start to lift the collarbone up a little bit higher to come into your twist. Good, turn that left hip down. You got it. Let's take one more breath here, working those inner thighs, and then slowly release that left hand down. Take your time, pause in the middle, for a moment. Breathing. Then we'll switch sides. Left hand to the center of the chair, right hand on your right hip. Feet pressing down and trying to hug in a little bit. Keeping those inner thighs strong. That's going to stabilize our hips. Freeing up the spine to come into a twist, looking to the right. Maybe pausing here, maybe reaching the right arm out to the right, and then lifting from your collarbone as you come up into a bit of a deeper twist. Only going though where it feels okay for you and is appropriate for your spine. Good, breathing. Breathing deep breaths here. And on your exhale, slowly release your right hand down, coming to hold the sides of the chair. Let's bend into one knee and then the other. So we'll release some of that inner thigh work and just shift our hips from side to side. Very good work. Good. Bringing the hips back into center. We're going to take the right foot and pivot your right foot so it's turning out towards the right. So it's pointing off to the right side. Now again, be aware of your hips here as you pivot. Bringing the right knee now to bend over top of the right ankle. So what we're not doing is bending the knee all the way out over the toes or keeping the legs straight. Make sure there's a bit of a bend in the knee. Holding onto the chair. Again, pressing into both feet. Trying to drag the feet towards each other is going to wake up that inner thigh strength, giving you some support. Maybe coming up onto your fingertips on the chair. Maybe bringing one hand up onto your right thigh. But lift the chest up. Keep low though in your hips. You might fan that right arm out to the right. Have a quick glance at your right knee. Make sure it's not falling in. Breathing here. You might extend your left arm out. Good. So if you're sitting in the chair, your right leg is out to the right, knee bent. Left leg is straightening out behind you. Good. Arms up. Warrior two. Gaze out over the right fingertips. Breathing here. Gently release your hands now onto the chair. And slowly straighten that right leg, turn the right toes in, and then pivot the left foot out. So we're coming into the other side, turning the left toes to point off to the left, bending into that left knee. Again, watch the knee. When it falls in, it puts a lot of pressure on that knee. Let's keep it right on top of the ankle. And then lift your chest up. Press into both feet, engage the inner thigh strength. Maybe take that left arm out. Maybe take the right arm out. Know the chair is there for support. Good, so we're sitting forward on the chair. If you're seated, your right leg is more straight. Depending on that knee, it might need to be bent a little. The left knee is bent, foot on the floor. Arms out. Gazing over those left fingertips. Take one more breath here. Then release your hands onto the chair. Turn those left toes to face forward. And walk the feet in just an inch or so. So they're not all the way in, but they're a little less wide. So a little ease on the hips. You can even give the hips a bit of a wiggle. Probably feels good to do that. Then you're gonna pivot your heels in slightly. Once again, the toes are pointing in the same direction as your kneecaps as you start to bend your knees. Good. Sitting your hips back as though there was another chair behind you. Keeping your knees right over top of your ankles. Sitting as low as you comfortably can. Never lower than knee height though. Let's keep just a little bit above knee height. Good. Or even higher if needed. That's okay. Good. From here, your hands might come up onto your thighs one at a time. Lift the chest up. Press into those feet. Even try to drag them together a little bit. They won't move, but you'll feel that inner thigh strength. Good. Then we'll take the arms out. Bend the elbows now so the palms are facing forward. As you inhale, you're going to straighten your legs, straighten your arms, reach up. As you exhale, curl your fingers over your thumbs, bend your elbows, bend your knees, sit back. Good. Inhale, reaching up, look up. Exhale, bending down and in. Good. Inhale through the nose, reach up. Exhale out the mouth. Good. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, slowly sitting back. Good. Two more. Last one. As you sit back, pause here. Let's open the fingers up, give them a wiggle. Bring the elbows about level with your shoulders. Good, we're in our Kali pose. In yoga, Kali is the goddess of destruction. So it could feel a little intense here, and that's okay. Maybe you bring your hands down. Maybe you bring your hands on the chair. That's okay. Come to a place that you can sustain and breathe fully. You've got it. We're going to take two more breaths like this. And then slowly on your next inhale, you're going to rise up. Straighten those legs. Release the arms down. Give the hips a little sway from side to side. Moving the feet now in so they're directly below the hips. Returning to Tadasana. If you feel steady here, try closing the eyes. Feel your feet on the ground. Let the breath settle. Good work. If you're comfortable coming to the floor, you can use your chair now for support to bring yourself down onto the floor and bring your legs up onto the chair. If you're sitting in your chair, that's absolutely okay. Go ahead and sit all the way to the back of your chair. If you have a stool or maybe a second chair close by, you might bring it in front of you and bring your legs up on that stool or second chair. As we'll take a few moments here in a variation of an inversion. So we're turning the body upside down a little bit, bringing the legs above the heart to encourage a reversal of blood flow, of lymphatic flow, of fluids in the body. And this sort of inversion, this variation of inversion can be quite calming as well, as we're sort of flooding the organs of the body with all the fluids, giving them everything they could need to do their work, supporting the spine, supporting the legs. Make you feel really calming, very relaxing. Give in to that sensation of calm. If it's comfortable for you to close the eyes, you can close the eyes or just simply soften the eyes a little bit more. Release now your yogic breath, the belly breath, and come now to just feel your natural breath again. We're going to do a few rounds here of Brahmari breath. This is our bumblebee breath. On your exhales, so stay as you are. But on your exhales, you're going to hum like a little bumblebee with your tongue resting at the roof of your mouth. And then the inhale will happen naturally. And once again, as you exhale, you'll hum, creating a little vibration of that tongue at the roof of the mouth. So one of the challenges I find with this breath is that we often actually try too hard with the breath. We try to force the vibration in the tongue. And so you don't need to actually make the vibration happen, but simply by humming with a soft tongue, the vibration will happen on its own. So let's start together, taking a deep breath in, a big sigh out. Another inhale breath through the nose. Place your tongue at the roof of your mouth and begin to hum. And again, inhaling. And we'll continue like that. Release the Brahmari breath. Let a natural breath settle back in. If you're lying on the ground, you can now bring your knees into your belly. Wrap your arms around your legs and gently squeeze the legs into the belly, compressing the belly. If you're sitting in the chair, you can fold forward, maybe bringing your hands around the back of the thighs, again, squeezing in here. Feeling a broadening across the back of your body, letting your breath move a little bit more into the back of the body. So especially for those on the floor, you can feel that motion of breath in the back as your back presses against the ground as you breathe in. And then softly kind of lifts even just a little bit from the earth as you breathe out. If you're lying on the floor, go ahead now and ease yourself over onto your side so that you can turn yourself to lay on your back and make sure that you've got lots of space to extend your limbs out. If you're sitting in the chair, slowly start to bring yourself back up, moving any props out of the way so you can come forward onto your chair. So you're sitting kind of halfway forward on your chair, feet flat on the floor. Okay, for those of you lying on the ground, extending the legs out, you're going to now bring your right leg into your belly and interlace your hands around your right thigh. Give the leg a squeeze into the belly. If you're seated, you might take a few moments like that as well. Giving yourself just a little squeeze here. This is Ardha Pavamuktasana or half wind relieving. Good. If you're sitting in the chair, though, let your right foot come down. Walk your whole body around towards the right. Make sure you're sitting slightly forward on the chair so the left hip is hanging off. Then you can glide your left leg back, if it feels comfortable for you, into a bit of a lunge. Bringing your hands around to the back of the chair into your twist. That's for those sitting in the chair. For those lying on the floor, take your left hand now across to your right thigh. Reach your right arm out to the side of the room and then guide your right leg across your body into your twist. If you're in the chair, slowly unwind your upper body, glide your left foot beside your right foot, and then walk yourself around to the other side of your chair. Again, making sure the right hip's hanging off the chair a little bit. This will make it easier on the hip to allow that leg to come back into a lunge, and then twisting over towards the back of the chair. If you're lying on the ground, you can slowly unwind, glide your right leg out, bring your left knee in, bring your right hand across your left thigh and come into your twist here, bringing the knee across the body. Wherever you are, feel your breath just as you are. If you're sitting in the chair now, slowly unwind your upper body, glide your feet side by side and walk yourself around, taking your left knee in, giving it a squeeze in. Okay. If you're lying on the ground, slowly unwind, keeping that left knee up into the belly, wrap your hands around your left shin or thigh, and again, squeeze the leg in here for Ardha Pavamuktasana on the other side. Good. And then slowly release the legs down, bending your knees if you're on the ground, feet on the floor, taking the feet a little wider apart, let your knees sway from side to side. For those of you sitting in the chair, you can now glide all the way to the back of the chair again. I like to place blocks underneath my feet here to give my legs some support. You might even place a pillow or a bolster on your lap to rest your arms on and lean all the way to the back of the chair. If you're lying on the floor, you can now straighten your legs out onto the ground. Now, if you find having your legs straight aggravates the low back at all, keep your knees bent, let your knees fall in together. That'll take some pressure off the low back. And then wherever you are here, as the body is gaining support, either through the ground or the chair, let yourself kind of lean in or give in to that support. Closing the eyes. Soften the parts of the body that can be softened so that the breath now has more freedom to move. And we use less effort to be here as we are. It feels a little bit easier to be here. We'll take a few moments now in our Savasana. As you start to hear my voice again, let the sound of my voice bring you back to your body. Your body's lying on the ground or maybe sitting in the chair, and you're just noticing how you're feeling here without trying to change anything. Just noticing how your body is positioned, noticing any muscles that might have been a little resistant to softening or relaxing. Noticing your breath. Also noticing the quality of mind that you have here. Noticing the thoughts that are going through the mind and the subject of the thought. Again, without judgment, because judgment itself is a thought. We're just observing, acknowledging. And starting to bring in some movement, helping to re-energize the body again, maybe wiggling toes and fingers, or moving the tongue around in the mouth, or wiggling the eyebrows. Easing motion back into the body. If it would feel good for you, you could take your arms up overhead, maybe interlace your fingers and press your palms away, feeling a whole stretch here down through the body. If you're lying on the floor, you can release your hands, slowly bend your knees one at a time and roll yourself over onto your side. If you're sitting in the chair, releasing your arms down, come forward now in your chair, lifting your spine away from the back of the chair. Those lying on the floor, you're welcome now to simply press yourself up and come to sit up on the earth, or you can come all the way up into your chair if that feels better. But come to a seat that frees the spine from support and now requires you to lift a little bit through some minor effort, so not with intensity, a little bit of effort to create space through the chest, through the heart, through the lungs. We'll fold the hands together in front of the heart here into our Anjali Mudra. And gently bow the head down and in towards the heart. Recognizing that there is wisdom and knowledge from the mind, and there's wisdom and knowledge from the body, and there's wisdom and knowledge to be shared from the heart. So thank you for continuing to come and to practice yoga together. Namaste.